everyone, and welcome to Break Time Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around education. I have been a teacher all my life, and along my journey, I have met so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that you too can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Sonali Dasgupta. She's a former research scientist, she's a STEM education expert and consultant, and now she's a founder of her own little baby called STEM Monsters. And Sonali, I recently saw on LinkedIn that STEM Monsters has been selected for the pre-incubation at NSRCEL, the Indian Institute of Management Bangalore, for a particular program. Congratulations. I'm sure that's going to
Thank
be
you.
exciting. So
Thank
now,
you very much, Anupa. Sorry, go ahead, please.
no problem. Why don't we start our conversation by you telling us, how you got started from being a former research scientist and to doing what you do today?
Okay, first, the reason I got so excited about thanking you was because you gave such a gracious introduction that I felt overwhelmed. Yes, I need to thank her for introducing me so well in my journey, what I've been through till now. So, yes, I was a research scientist. I spent about 16 years abroad in UK and US working with in the labs of Nobel laureates and inventors in my photonics technology domain. But then I returned to India in the last quarter of 2019, and that is when I kind of realized from a personal perspective, because I have a very, very curious child, that there might be so many of them out there who want the correct guidance at a young age to be able to reach their potential. And at this point, coming back to India after so many years, I still saw the same textbooks being used. I still saw the same methodology being used. And that is where I realized that with my background and my exposure to worldwide research and education space at the same time, I could do something to make an impact. And that is how STEM Monsters was born.
Wow, that is so interesting. So, any particular reason why you chose STEM? I mean, like you spoke about, the typical textbooks and things like that. So, why STEM?
Why STEM? Very interesting question. So first of all, definitely I'm partial to science and technology. Come being a PhD in physics, I am obviously partial to science and technology. But at the same time, science and technology, knowing the subject is not enough in today's world, especially. We need to be able to apply that knowledge to actually have an impact in society or in our careers. So just by knowing equations, it will only get you so far. And the whole purpose of bringing in the STEM pedagogy along with arts to it, which we actually call as STEAM, A standing for arts, is so that the children understand how what they are learning in school is related to the everyday world. So once they understand why they are learning what they are learning, it will be an automatic motivation for them to learn that so much more. So that is why STEM, I think, incorporates all of the things they learn in school and relates it to their real life world and gets them engaged. So that is why, yeah, my partiality to STEM education specifically. And in today's world, everything is STEM driven. You and I talking is STEM driven. Your specs is science. Microphone, the Apple earpod that I'm wearing, it's all technology. So it's a very integrated world. And we need to have the foundation in that.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I so wish that when we were in school, we had interventions like this to help us understand because, in my mind, I still have this block towards science and mathematics and things like that, just because maybe it didn't interest me or I don't know what, I was more
No,
into.
it's a very interesting point you bring up, because it is not about what we are learning in school that is the problem. We are learning the right things. I mean, India has gotten this far with that system. What needs the change is how are we introducing it to the child so that they look at it as something which is fun rather than something which is stressful. And once we get rid of that by introducing it in the proper, fun, engaging manner, half of the problem is solved.
I love that you say that there's nothing wrong with what is being taught. I mean, it's just how it's being taught,
Yes,
right? So,
yes.
have you seen Some changes. I mean, I know when you came back, you saw that people were using the same textbooks, but did you see a change in the way things were being taught?
I think we're very lucky to be in the city that we are, or at least in the tier one cities, that definitely parents are more aware nowadays in terms of how they want their children to look at the subjects. And there are more and more number of parents who understand it's not enough to actually just read, vomit it out during the exams and be done with it. I'm sorry to use that strong word, but if it is of no use, then it is just that. So I do see a change in the parents' attitude. They're more open to learning outside of school. And what I think needs a bigger change to have a bigger impact is the system itself, which is always more difficult to handle because we are addressing not a small group of parents or children, right? We are talking about the masses here. So that definitely will take a longer time to change. But I think it has started with the NEP coming up, with STEM becoming mandatory from class 3 onwards from 2025, government doing all the right things, approaching skills-based learning. I think we are on the right track.
And that's so encouraging to hear because I so often slip into, into sadness, just wondering, will we ever make it?
Frustration.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know that when you say vomit, it was typically that I just studied, vomited it out in my exams, and forgot everything. So even till
Yeah,
today, I cannot even remember, apart from I really loved English literature. So I remember studying that.
yeah.
Everything else I don't remember at all. And that is so
Mm.
sad.
But
So,
that's the thing, right? The word love. You
yeah,
love how it is taught. You just trigger that, and then it stays with you for life.
no, that's very true. It was the teacher that made me love,
Yeah,
the subject. And
wonderful.
I did have a mental block with maths, but in my high school, there was a really good teacher. But by then, I think it was too late. And I used to just look at her teach, and I used to think that, if I had her when I was earlier,
Mm,
I'm sure I
mm,
would have loved maths and done well. So, yeah,
mm.
it's all about how. So, coming back to STEM, Sonali, I know it's something like even the circles, the present circles that I am in the education circles, in the schools that I work with, nobody is really aware of the word STEM. So, how do you explain it to them? Explain it to someone who has no idea what this is all about.
Okay, so this is my best thing. I've almost gotten it memorized. So hopefully it comes across with some emotion as well. But STEM is an acronym for science, tech, engineering, and maths. This is what the acronym is. But what it actually means is connecting these four subjects and learning how the fundamental concepts in all of these four subjects can be used together to come up with a solution to a problem that the world is facing right now. So whether it is something like us talking, very interestingly, it's futuristic. So let's say all the five senses that we have, except for sense and odor, like smell, we can have this eyes, and we have sorted how we can do long distance seeing and hearing. Can we do long distance smelling? Is it possible? And that's something which has fascinated me, right?
Yeah,
But
never thought of
why
that.
not is my question. What STEM forces you to do is why not? And then start approaching. I mean, this might seem preposterous right now, as having this video conversation would have seemed preposterous 50 years ago. So the thing is that 10 years from now, the way at which technology is progressing, even 10 years from now, we don't know what is going to happen to the world. And that is where STEM comes in. It helps you to get the fundamental tool sets to solve a problem that we are not even aware of would be there in 10 years' time. So this is what I tell the parents. It's not about knowing robotics today. It's not about knowing coding today. It is about knowing what are the fundamental pieces that goes into making a robot, what are the fundamental pieces that are required skill sets to code a program. And then 10 years down the line, when your child is at that stage going into the real world, use those concepts, and the way where you are applying it will change. So you have the basic tool set. That's what you require. And that is what STEM is. It gives you the basic tool sets to solve a problem.
Oh, that's a really nice explanation. In my head, again, like I tell you, I don't know too much about STEM myself. Robotics and coding are the terms that are thrown around, and along with STEM. So, how are they all different, or are they the same, or what is it?
Okay. So, as I like to put it, robotics and coding are a very small subset of the entire STEM umbrella. What STEM focuses on is knowing, understanding the topics from a fundamental point of view and then coming up with a solution. So, yes, it's important to code, but the program itself, the coding, the software itself is not as important as having the logical thinking, critical analysis skills. So, STEM is about building those tool sets which are more from a fundamental point of view, science aptitude point of view, rather than just knowing subjects. So coding and robotics, yes, are a part of STEM, knowing that is useful, but not where it is templatized. STEM is not templatized. STEM is about leaving you with an open-ended question, knowing the fundamentals. So if I were to do coding today, I should have the skill set. What STEM will do is it will give you the thought process to code in any language tomorrow that you have to pick up. But it will give you the thought process to approach on how do I write the steps to solve that problem.
Oh, okay. I love that open-ended question. So, can it be answered different ways? Is that
Yes.
yeah?
Yes, I mean, yes. So let's talk of something as simple as headphones, right? Something as simple as headphones, and I'm talking off the top of my head right now. But just think of how many solutions you have right now for this same problem statement, and everybody can use what works for them. You can have in-ear pieces, you can have over-ear pieces, you can have a speaker separately. They're all solving the same problem of us being able to hear what's being said in the machine. But you have multiple options to it depending on what is the use case. So what STEMS helps you do is you are approaching a certain problem statement, and then with the limited resources, it gives you the skills to solve for that within the constraints.
Oh, okay. That's a wonderful explanation. Thank you so much
I
for
hope I hope I answered your question. I mean, there are probably five more I can talk about right now, but in the because of time, I just limited to three. But the idea should be clear that
yeah.
what STEM helps you do is come up with innovative solutions to the problem that you're trying to solve.
That's brilliant. I like that. I like that. Sonali, why don't you quickly take us through, like, a class of yours? Like, how do you approach STEM, and how are your classes different, and things like that?
Okay. So what STEM Monsters does is we offer after school club for the children to get them engaged and interested in sciences and technology and STEM per se. The way we do it is we come together on a Zoom meeting with the materials that have been told to the children most of the time. These are accessible materials. So they'll find that, in and around the house, because a big part of getting children interested is not have a mind block. So use simple things. Then we come in, we pick up a theme. We don't pick up a subject or a topic. We pick up a theme and we do an experiment together during the live session. We make these models or experiments, and then we don't tell them this is what happened. What we do is, what do you observe? What did you observe? What do you think might have caused this? If your experiment did not work, why do you think it did not work? So the whole session, by the end of it, the children have arrived at the answers themselves. At the same time, what we are doing is just guiding them to reach that particular answer, to come up with a conclusion, rather than holding their hand and taking them through the same path that we have been through. And you would be amazed at the different ways in which children come up, how they figure out why they might have felt, and the solutions that come up with. Sometimes even I can't get them. So that's what a typical session of STEM Monsters looks like.
I love it. I love it. It's so different from the spoon feeding culture in the classroom. So here you're just allowing them, and I love that you
Yes,
will guide them towards the answer and ask them why. Even if it didn't work, you're not going to point
yes,
it out. You're going to ask
yes,
why that didn't work. I love it.
yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you so much for being here. And before we end, any parting words that you would like to give the audience about
Oh, wow.
STEM or about anything, whatever you feel like.
Sure. First of all, thank you very much, Anupa, for having me and sharing my point of view with so many parents out there. What I would like to leave you with, and all the parents out there who are watching us, is let your children fail. Don't make them afraid of failure, because there cannot be a bigger mind block than that. Celebrate the failures, encourage them to get up and learn from that failure. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I have dedicated this channel to my dad, who was an educator, and he taught me so much. And his philosophy in life was always about, just let children fail. I mean, he had failed so many times and he learned, he picked himself up and learned. So I love that. Thank you
Wow.
so much. Thanks,
Thank you
Sonali,
very much.
and all the best with STEM Monsters, and look forward to interacting with you more and more.
Thank you so much, Anuba. The same, wish you all the best as well. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye
Bye for
bye.
now.